a beatbox. Do you beatbox? I'm really bad at it. How's that sound?
It's just farting. It just sounds like farting.
I'm very good at farting. Not so good at beatbox.
No,
Does
don't.
that
one work?
Hey,
That
don't.
one might work.
Yeah, don't quit your day job. Please, don't.
Ouch.
Burn!
I think the only job you can do is
Hello.
Sailor
And
Moon.
this one just
That's all.
worked.
The only thing.
You get this one.
I don't want that one.
Why? Because I spit in it?
Yes.
Farted in it? Mouth farted in it?
Farted directly in it.
Oh, no. No,
Well, it
it
kinda
doesn't.
works.
Your voice
Well,
is
hello.
so gentle and soft. Like, let me turn you up. Here.
Yeah.
I don't know which one that is, though, but I'm going to guess. Try now.
Hey, don't try to break it.
Is that better? Is that better?
Hello.
Don't break it, please.
You guys tell me. Oh, wait.
Is that better?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Hello.
What?
Huh?
Mike,
Try
Mike,
it.
1, 2.
That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
That's all this panel is for 1 hour.
We're going to answer in farts. We're answering in farts.
Answering in thoughts.
Hard.
So, not the silent but deadly kind.
So much more powerful. That's not fair. My mic is lit.
Oh God.
Harrow.
It's a sad mic.
It is.
This is so awkward. You have to like move all of the mics down.
Yeah, here. Here.
Oh, hi.
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 Hello.
Hi. Hello. Welcome to the Sailor Moon voice voice actor panel. This is Robbie and I am Stephanie, and we do all of the voices in Sailor Moon.
That's it.
All of
There's
them.
no one else. I'm a fabulous Queen Beryl. Just so you know.
Fabulous.
But,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I don't have
Take it
anything to
away.
say. No, that was the,
All right,
that was
thanks
the
a lot. Thank
introduction.
you. Okay, how many of you guys came to either Robbie or my panel yesterday?
Oh, I see some of you.
Okay, so just some of you. Okay, the only reason I ask, I'm not shaming the other people who didn't. It's just so that we know, like, it's okay to repeat some answers. Yeah, go ahead, that's yours. It's okay to like repeat some answers it's for me to know, so I'm not like telling all the same stories and you guys are just politely bearing the brunt of listening to the same stuff over and over and over.
No, you were interesting yesterday.
Which one of us?
Both of you.
I tried to trick you.
I'm smart at that.
There's,
Make them choose.
we don't really have a plan.
We have a plan.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay, he has a plan.
It's fart noises for 1 hour. I've told you this already.
So you guys had Mexican for lunch yet?
It's
Oh no.
classy.
Didn't you feel like, okay, were you scared during opening ceremonies when you had to walk through the Stargate?
I physically
and like,
winced. I winced.
Yeah, it was
I was
scary.
like a child. I just was like, eh.
did you guys see the opening ceremony?
No.
No.
Got stuck in the daily room.
It was
Yeah.
like this big like Stargate thing, and then like when you walked through, they went,
It was like a smoke machine.
yeah,
It was like, I felt like it was like my NFL debut.
yeah.
And then it went off while I was like introducing myself, so I thought someone was coming behind me. I'm like, what professional wrestler is gonna come out and tackle
Tackle
me?
you.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird, but fun. Was it fun? I have no idea.
So the plan, I think, is for you guys to ask us questions.
Yeah. It's
And-
a Q&A, right? Isn't that what it says in the paper?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
thank goodness.
question and answer.
We'll be the answer part.
I don't know. I might have some questions.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's what we'll do, and then someone will tell us that our time is up.
Do you guys know who we are and what we do? She's Sailor Moon and I'm Tuxedo Mask, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good. I just want to clarify. 'Cause there are some people who just wander into panels and they're like, where am I?
You're like, I thought this was cosplay wigs.
Yeah.
Why are they not wearing wigs?
Yeah.
Why is that man wearing a hat?
I've got a beautiful Kill the Kill outfit on underneath this. I'll
Sengetsu.
spare you. So yeah, you're doing the classic.
He's doing the stretch. He
third
doesn't have a
grade
question. No, he has a
I
question.
do actually have a question.
Yes.
It's a repeat of anyone who was in here for Nolan North.
Oh,
It's a universal question. It's a universal
okay.
question.
I thought you were going to ask
This
a question.
actually
on that.
applies to you guys even more than him.
Oh,
Okay. You guys are doing the redub of Sailor Moon, and you're doing Sailor Moon Crystal, correct?
yes.
Correct.
All right. You're coming into these almost iconic classic anime characters, and you're redubbing it. So
Yes.
my question is as you're coming in and you're essentially taking over for the previous voice actors, do you try and keep a continuity of what the last stuff was like, or are you doing your own thing, or how's
What
that?
was Nolan's answer?
Yeah. I'll take his.
He got really awkward because he felt like he was just like stealing the role from someone.
Ooh,
I don't.
no, I don't think so.
Nolan's a nice guy. We're not as nice as Nolan. We're like, yeah, give us the work. No, I don't know. I don't know.
No, he's super nice. Well, you go first. You're
I'll
Sailor
go
Moon.
first?
You're Sailor Moon. I'll just
Okay.
pop up in the end and like stop.
I was about to say age before beauty, but then I realized I'm going first.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Okay, I didn't watch the show back in the day. I was a little bit too old for it. Like, it wasn't that appealing to me. It seemed like for a little bit younger girls. Yeah, although it's for everybody. I know, it's for all ages. But at the time in my life, I was like, so I didn't really watch it. When I was cast in it, when I got the auditions and stuff, I thought it was for Crystal, actually. I thought it was for Crystal. And so I knew that there was like a new thing, so I thought, okay, well, I kind of remember vaguely hearing like clips of the dub and stuff, but I listened to some clips on YouTube and I was like, well, there are 3 different actresses who played her and they don't sound the same, so I don't feel like I need to sound like them, or else it would be strange to sound. How could you sound like all of them? And then to be honest, when I listened to all, because I auditioned for all of the Guardians, and I listened to them, I was like, I couldn't really hear the difference between the voices so much, especially if they're off camera. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do my own thing, what I think, you know. So I don't really. And the thing that I go off of is the Japanese.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give us a sample?
Of the Japanese?
the Japanese. Oh, you know what's the same?
What?
The moon prism.
Just-
We say power the same because I have to stretch out. Power.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like very long.
I think you just add a vowel to every word, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Power. No R's.
Yeah. I spend most of my time going, Usagi! Just yell.
Wasabi.
Usagi! Like literally, I think like the last 10 episodes, it was just me like falling into space, screaming.
I can't keep track whether or not we're broken up or whether or not he's evil. I just can't remember. I'm like, is he evil right now?
Wait, in real life?
Are we
or
back
in the
together?
show?
Well, I know you're evil. But like, I just can't figure it out because we're doing Crystal and the classic.
But they're almost
series.
caught up to each other now at this point, right? Pretty close. Yeah? No, not
No.
No.
You're on like what, the 3rd or 4th? You should probably, in memory search, you guys should probably be starting to work on the 2nd season of the, like the second half of the 2nd season for Sailor Moon.
I don't know, maybe
Maybe.
somewhere around there, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Season 2 comes out July, right? Huh?
July 14th.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
after
that
Anime
sounds
Expo.
Yes.
After, yeah.
And I'm sure that, I don't know, I'm sure they'll have more information then too. My answer is the same for your question as Stephanie's. I did literally the exact same thing. I do remember seeing some of the OG back when I was in college, like on my roommate, I think showed it to me like in some old crappy bootlegs or whatever, but I don't remember, I know it's bad, bootlegs are bad, kids, do not do it. So I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember, it's a long time ago, I'm dating myself, so I don't really recall it. So I went on YouTube, I was like, oh, these are all different actors. So I maybe listened to 2 clips just to hear what he sounded like, to see sort of what range he was in. And I think I listened to both Vince and Toby, and
What about Reno?
what?
Reno.
I don't know, is
I
it the
think-
first one?
I think, didn't Reno also,
Nope.
is it Reno Romano?
Yes,
Reno?
yes, that's
Yeah.
that's the first one.
So, yeah,
I
did you
think
hear any of
I
his?
didn't hear any of his.
Because, he lives in LA and he does a lot of VO work.
Well, thanks for really guilting me about this.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just saying your paths may cross doing
It's
other
possible.
stuff.
I don't know the gentleman. No,
Okay.
I don't know. But the same thing's the Japanese. We get previewed with the Japanese. The other dub, we don't use any of that in the studio. We just go just off the Japanese. Japanese. And then if we decide to deviate from it as far as tone goes, I think Stephanie's is a lot closer to the original Japanese than the Tuxedo Mask is. That's just my opinion, because he's a lot deeper, sort of older sounding, and we've younged him up a little bit.
Make it less creepy.
Yeah. So to answer your question, no, we don't really use the other dub.
Okay.
It's a beautiful little piece of time, but yeah.
Who else has questions, or else?
I had another question, but go ahead.
Do you guys use the Japanese names or do you use the original dub names?
Usagi.
So you use
Mama.
Japanese
Yeah,
names?
they're using
Yeah.
the Japanese.
Yeah.
We are using the Japanese names.
For those of you who aren't following the Sailor Moon Classic Series dub, the box sets are out. Basically, we use the Japanese names. They're unedited, because I know that when back in the day, they skipped a few episodes, they edited out a few episodes. We're doing all of the episodes. And the Outer Guardians, the ones that are lesbian will be lesbian, and they will not be cousins.
And no gender swap for the Dark Kingdom.
Yeah.
What about the
Either.
Sailor Star?
Yeah.
They're swapping still?
We haven't gotten to that point yet, and I don't know that Sailor Stars. It's a different series.
Yeah.
But so I don't know.
Yeah, fine.
That's still to be determined by Viz and the producers and the director. So we haven't thought that far into the future yet.
But so
Yeah.
as far as what we know is they're all uncut and
Yeah. So for the most part, we're really trying to stick true to the original. There might be a few things that have been added. If it's like an off-camera line, like the purple pleated pants line was totally an ad thing, or if it's like a joke that's that doesn't make sense when you translate it, like,
Are you going to be redoing the movies too?
I think so. I think that's what we were told, but.
Yeah, I think we're doing the movies. From what Shar said, we were doing
I think
all
so.
200
Plus
OG
movies.
episodes plus 3 movies.
Yeah. So, yep. All right, who else has got? I will get back to you. But
We'll circle around.
if nobody else has questions, I will go back to him again. But if I just want to give people a chance to.
I had a question.
So a lot of people that listen to voice actors are sometimes finding themselves that they don't understand how voice actors actually do their job. And so is there a technique that you particularly use to get your character's voice, and how do you capture the person and the personality of that character? And
When I capture people, I usually use duct tape and straight into the trunk, right into the cage in the basement.
Oh
And
no.
I've got a garden hose and kibble, and usually last a few months, and then I go get a fresh one. Was that dark?
Oh yeah.
Maybe honest.
And
No, I'm
creepy.
kidding.
Like,
No, I walk into the room and look for the thing that looks like a microphone and talking to it. But as far as finding a character goes, the anime is fun. Stephanie's done. I'm this tiny little peon, and she's done.
but
this
you've done
huge-
tons of VO work.
Yeah, for a long time. But anime is new to me, so.
But I'm assuming your approach to anime is the same as to other VO work. I mean, you have to match the flaps and concentrate on that, but it's not like you're doing a different acting.
Oh, I think I disagree.
Really?
I think it is a fully other art form. I think it's the difference between like sculpting and painting. I really do. I think it's so different. I approach it so differently. I do.
It's so weird.
I disagree.
I feel like, oh my God,
I'm breaking up
find
with
it
you.
out, man.
I'm secretly evil.
Secretly.
No, wait.
Yeah, it's so weird. I guess I started out doing anime, and now I'm doing a more original animation stuff, but I don't really treat the acting differently.
But still, I wouldn't say I treat that acting differently. I treat the approach of the actual recording differently, for sure.
Oh, the process is different.
Right. I think it's all acting. I think
Right.
the same way like visual art falls under the category of visual art, like I was talking like sculpting and painting. I've learned so much in the last year about what it means to do dubbing and try and do it well. It's a very difficult skill. It's a whole other animal. And to answer your question, help find the character, the thing that I like about it is I come from a theater background. I'm a visual, physical person. So to be able to see the action going on informs me about what needs to happen. So instead of traditional animation where you're taking something straight from page to imagination to mouth, you have this whole other set of information to work with off of the dub. Sometimes it doesn't work. I did some dubbing thing last week, that I read in the paper, I was like, oh, this is going to be funny. I'm going to be great in this. And then I went in, and it was like a really kind of specific kind of dubbing thing, and I was like, oh, crud. I don't know if I can do this, because the scratch track that came first was so off of what I wanted to do, I couldn't make the comedy work very well, and it was a lot harder. So, you know, it's information and something to struggle at the same time. So, I don't know, do you feel the same way, or am I just talking out my mouth?
No, I mean, I don't think like I don't think, that's one of my pet peeves actually, is because I don't, like, people will say like, oh, well, it's anime acting or versus anything. I feel like just, I mean, I can see how like voice acting might be different from on-camera acting. You know, voice acting is a little bit more heightened. You can push the boundaries to be a little bit bigger than when you're doing on-camera stuff. But like, I don't think that it's like a different style of acting. The only thing is the process when you're doing it is very different. It is a little bit like you have to split your brain. You know, it's like asking you to concentrate on one thing while something else is going on. It's kind of like rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time. You know, like where you have to kind of, you know, split your. I know. So yeah. So in that, I guess we're kind of saying the same thing. I think that and then you learn to like justify. Usually for me, what I find easier is if I can come up with a reason to justify the wonky sync. If I just try to hit the sync, like if I just try to pause there or just match the flap for the sake of matching the flap, I find that the performances tend to be a little bit more stale. And what I have to do is I have to give myself an emotional reason why I'm pausing there, or why my, you know, if the mouth is very big, why I'm yelling, or why, you know, like, and then I feel like it sells it better. It comes off a little bit better. And also just giving myself the freedom to do things not so perfectly, like to mush my words, or to breathe into a line, or to cough on a line, or to laugh on a line, or to struggle on a line. Because I think what happens with like a lot of anime, or because it's dubbing, you're so much concentrated on just like da 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 da, and at the and it's fine. Each line is fine and perfect, but in a way, it's like too perfect. And when you watch the scene back, it kind of ends up being like stale. Because as an actor, and this goes for like all acting, voice acting, on camera acting, sketch comedy, or anything, like my litmus test is like, would I do that in real life? You know, like how is that? Do I do this? Well, in real life, I don't know what I'm going to say before I say it. You know, I guess maybe some people do, but that's not the type of person I am. Like, I make mistakes, I backtrack, I stutter, right? You know, all these kinds of things. So that gives me freedom as a voice actor to also do those types of things. You know, and to like be in the moment and just kind of go with it. And it's all digital, so if you screw up, you just do it again. All right.
That's an absolutely awesome answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What about my answer?
He meant both. It was for
Oh,
both.
good,
It
good.
was for both.
You said you guys
trying
were
to
saying
pin
the
us
same
Actors
thing.
are so insecure. Swear.
Totally
High
kidding.
And my
five.
battery is
No,
dead.
Have you felt any kind of pressure coming into these roles, because they are like very iconic for some people, and for a lot of people they kind of like define their childhood? So have you felt like, oh, I have to do this right, or else everyone is going to hate me in like these age groups, or is it? And I know that might be kind of a weird.
I'll let you answer first.
No. Because the minute you start thinking about that, you're going to mess it up anyway. And that's sort of like actor 101, the thing that a lot of the first thing you'll say and when you're like teaching an actor is, you know, you got to get out of your head. And that comes with all the other forms of insecurity. And being super focused on what people are going to think of the outcome, you'll never get to the best outcome that you can have artistically. But that doesn't mean that when I came into it, and I know it's the same for Stephanie, is we wanted to treat it with the utmost care as well and do the best that we can. So yeah, there was pressure, of course, but it's only pressure if it's self-generated, and it's all up to you what kind of self-generated pressure you give yourself. Do you want to be pressured to do the best that you can, or do you want to be pressured to do the best that you can for the sake of someone else? And that one will never lead you down the right path artistically, no matter what you do. So that's my opinion on it. So
Yeah, I totally agree with him. Like, there's definitely pressure and stuff, but if you focus on the pressure, you're no longer focusing on the job. And in a way, it's selfish. You know what I mean? Because like ultimately, you should be focused on the performance. Because when you're acting, and this kind of goes like, I think it's the same thing for life. You know, like when you're acting, if you're too worried about judging the performance or how people will judge the performance, well, you're not doing a very good job of acting. Because you're supposed to be in the mindset of the character, what the character's thinking and all this stuff. And the character sure as heck not thinking about who's gonna judge this performance. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you have to kind of forget about that, because then you're not treating the property with respect, and you're really not doing your job, and it's just about ego, you know? I just talked to somebody who came through my line today, and they were talking about like social anxiety. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing. Like, don't be so worried about what other people think. They're gonna think what they think anyway. And truth of the matter, half the time, most people are really self-centered, and they're really more worried about their own stuff going on in their life, that they're not even judging you, and they're not even really paying that much attention. So I think just like focusing on the work itself is kind of a way to deal with that. When Michelle Ruff picked me up to take me out to dinner for my birthday, right after we'd been cast, before we even started recording, the first thing she said when I opened her car door was, "You ready for all the haters?" And I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. I got in the car, was like, all like, yay, we're getting on this new project. And the first thing she said was like, "Are you ready for the haters?" Like,
Oh.
but it's true. I was like, oh, and I did when the first clips were released on YouTube. I went online and I started reading message boards, and it was the worst thing to do, because seriously, it like just made me depressed and upset, and then sometimes angry. I'm like yelling at my computer screen, but like, why? What's the point? You know?
Yeah, I try to stay off the boards. Yeah, turn off the Google alerts. I mean, listen, it doesn't really matter in the long run. You know, I don't know of any producer particularly that like goes on to Tumblr and is like, oh, they're saying some cruddy stuff about Robbie Daymond, we better fire him. You know, I mean, you know, unless, if you're messing up for your own merits. But yeah, I mean, that thing came out and there was like, I got like 250,000 views right away, and it was just, everybody's got an opinion, and you know what they say about opinions, right? Yeah.
Right.
I can't, it's PG panel, I can't say what they say. Yes, Finn?
I was just wondering, did you guys know from the onset that you wanted to be voice actors, or is it something that you just kind of fell into?
I wanted to be an actor, and the voice acting part is kind of something that ended up coming along the way. I was an anime fan. I watched anime, and I watched dubs, and I didn't like them. So I usually watched subtitles. And because I liked anime, I auditioned for a few things, and then it turned out that I was pretty good at it, probably because I watched a lot of anime. So and I'm also, because I'm Asian, I'm not Japanese, but because I'm Asian, I kind of get some of the nuances and some of the culture a little bit easier when I hear it on the preview. So that's kind of what happened. I'm still pursuing the on-camera stuff, but you know, I don't want to make it an excuse, but I will say that like, being an ethnic minority does present a challenge when doing on-camera stuff, and I don't have that problem when I do voiceover. I mean, you know, like Aloha just came out, you know, Emma Stone was cast as half Asian girl. So.
Yeah. What was the question?
I ramble, I'm sorry. Just duct tape me when it gets too much.
No way. Well, like you said before, actors are self-centered. I was just waiting for my turn. BS. No, she's right. I mean, to kind of have two people of color to be your leads in something like
diversity!
It's awesome. And our Sailor Jupiter, she's half African American, right? I mean, the times there are changing. That's cool, but that's not what the question was about. It's whether about
Mars
Stephanie.
is Latina.
She is. Oh my God. Yeah. I don't even think about that. Though it does have a kind of a flip side. My buddy Eric is Canadian Filipino, and he plays every Japanese, Chinese, Asian guy in cartoons. So you know there is that side of it too. I play a lot of Hispanic guys, and when they're like, "Oh, we're so happy to have a Latino in here," and I'm just like, "Yeah, me too." So what do you want me to do? You know. So but no, I grew up doing theater, and my whole life And that's how I paid my way through college. I went to grad school for it. So when it was time to graduate grad school and either move to New York or LA, because to be honest, you really got to live where the work is. There's a few cities, maybe Chicago, maybe a couple of places that have theme parks you could maybe live in and make a full-time living as an actor. But Texas, there are some anime people down there that do it. But LA or New York is sort of where you have to go. So when I decided to move to LA, my first thing was how do I make my dream? How do I make money? So I was already Actors Equity and for theater, not a lot of theater out there. So I started as like, I want to do voiceover. And one of the very first jobs I booked, my first 2 weeks out here, was a pilot for Warner Brothers with Miss Stephanie Sheh. And that's how we met a while ago, a few years ago.
Yeah.
Let's not date ourselves too much. And it was like my first 2 weeks out here, and I was like, this is gonna be easy. You know, that's what I thought then. And we played two little bunnies who were in love, I think. I think she was in love.
We're like in school, right?
Yeah, a mall or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
We're like teenagers, I think.
Yeah, it was a really cute show, so I ran up to her afterwards, because it's a big cast, but for some reason, she just, this is off on a tangent. Is this story okay? What do you think? Is it interesting? Maybe not. We'll find out. And I ran up to Stephanie afterwards, like a total newbie, and I was like, "Hi, I'm new to LA. Would you be my friend?" And, you know, and I'd be mortified to do it now, not knowing. I had no idea who she was, but she just seemed really nice and honest and really good at her job. And like the gracious, wonderful person that she is, she was like, "Yeah, sure. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. If you want to talk or whatever, here you go." And perhaps it was because we were in a professional setting and doing a union job together that she was so kind to me. And then over the next few years, I would occasionally reach out as I started doing more work and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or, you know, and she'd ask me to audition for things, and we worked together sporadically on and off over the course of 8
We
years.
both went to that callback, that really weird callback.
Oh yeah, that was really weird. What was that for?
I don't know, but it was like a group. It was like you, me, and another dude.
Yeah.
We got called and we had to do like a group read.
It was
like
weird.
upstairs at some production office.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, that was for some kind of pilot that never went, I don't
Yeah.
think. Was it Get? Was it? I can't remember. Anyway, so I started doing this full time about 4.5 years ago, and my first anime to be with Stephanie as Usagi, which means bunny. Am I not right? For a little full circle moment for me, I was like, yeah, you're doing good. So yeah, it was pretty cool. So I always wanted to do VO, and then once I started doing it, I never looked back. All I could ever be in commercials is a busboy or a soccer fan or like a stereotypical Native American in a loincloth, or a few indie horror movies. And to be honest, you can't make a living in LA doing that. You know, maybe a few guest stars here and there on a few shows, but it wasn't enough for me. And then once somebody gave me the opportunity to do voiceover full time, where I got to be fairies and goblins and heroes and, you know, anime heroes and, you know, boys, girls, monsters, whatever you wanted to be, old ladies. Of course, as a creative person, I'm going to pick that profession and put all my effort into it. So, yeah.
Frank?
Just across the board with all your career and how many voice acting things you all both done, what's been like the worst or toughest line to have to do?
I'll make it quick.
Do it,
So,
because I can't think of one.
A McDonald's commercial. I was in a national radio commercial. I did it, that was 5 years ago, and it was awful. And my line was, I'll have an Egg McMuffin. And the reason that was so hard and frustrating is because I spent 2 hours in the studio doing it, and they were on a phone patch from New York, and no matter what I did, they hated it. And it went to air, and I swear to God.
It's still you in it. Was it still you in it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
me. Oh yeah, it went to air as me. They used it. It was like the same version that I auditioned with. This one line, and it took 2 hours. And it was so mortifying. I was so embarrassed. I was so angry. I don't even like McDonald's. Like I didn't need the money at the time. To even accept the job, I was like, oh, fine, I'll do it. It's a national radio commercial, and the pay was good. But yeah, so that was my most frustrating, awful line. Was a silly, stupid McDonald's commercial. Yeah.
That though is like the typical story of commercials.
Yeah.
like you have like one line and they make you do it a million times. I think the reason is because they have there's like the advertising agency, there's like the people from McDonald's, they have like 20 people in the room.
Yeah.
And I think all 20 people kind of need to justify why they're there, why they're in on the record session. So anytime, even though it's one line, it's like, do you have an opinion? And then one person's like, don't you think it should be a little bit more like this? And they go, yeah. And then one other person would, don't you think, I wanted to kind of like go up on the first word and then kind of hesitate on the muck part. Or
That's
like,
probably some guy who's never been in a recording studio in his life.
You do that for 20 times, and then the other guy's like, well, really, we're advertising the McMuffin, so we need the McMuffin part to be very clear. Like, you end up saying, it'll drive you insane.
Yeah, so in the end, it probably, to be honest, it probably had nothing to do with me, but it was murdering my, like, ego and confidence, and I started to get in my head, as we talked about earlier.
And that's what you have to, like, I went in to do a US Cellular spot, and it was also radio and stuff, and it took forever. It was 2 spots, and the voice I auditioned with was like peppy, high energy. It was something like, well, I don't remember the copy, but it was something da-da-da-da-da. I think it was US Cellular, you know, it was like very like US Cellular, like this kind of voice. And then it was like through all the notes and the notes and the notes, and what the very last 2 takes were it became a warm, mature, you know, it was more like US Cellular. I was like, that was not the voice I booked the job with, you know, but thank God I could do that voice. But so it's like, and luckily for me, I hadn't done that many commercial things before, but by then I had already been fired from a job. It was an anime job, and in retrospect, now that when I think back to why I was fired, it was really I got in my own way. I started getting some redirects on a line, and I got in my head that, oh no, I'm not doing a good job. It was for a big director, and I was very intimidated. It was for kind of like, this was only the 2nd time I'd ever been in that studio. It was kind of for a movie that I thought was a big deal. And so I got in my head, I got really insecure each time I got a note, and that was just in my head. And ultimately, I think back to it, you know, the director, what was lacking in that character was, she's a very like feminine and a soft, very girly type of voice. But she was also like a high-ranking military personnel. So what was lacking in my voice was that even though it sounded sweet and feminine and this, she didn't feel like it had the strength of having a high position in military. So, but really, how was I supposed to sound that way if as the session went on, I was like beating myself up and feeling more and more insecure, you know? So ultimately, I really got in my own way. It was my own head game that caused me to get fired. So because I had that experience and kind of like learned from it, and also we had other friends who did way more commercials than me, they all warned me that when you go in and do commercials, be prepared. I'm not saying it will be like this, but it can be like this, and you just need to not think about it and just, you want another one? Great! You want 200 more? No problem. You want to do it like I did 550 times before, going back that way? You don't call them on it ever, you're like, no problem, I can do that, and it'll just save your crazy headache. I had to do a Honda commercial one time, and they wanted it exactly like the scratch track, you know.
Just hire the person on the scratch track.
Exactly, but they couldn't hire the person on the scratch track because it was just an employee, and she couldn't do any of the other lines, but the one line, they loved the way that she did it. And I was giving the same performance, like the same acting, but my voice didn't sound like hers. And I had to do it over and over and over and over and over again until finally I was like, they just want that. I know that that's what they want. That's why they're saying, then they're trying different things, but ultimately they want what that sounds like. So I stopped trying to give them the same performance, and I just tried to voice match it. And my voice type was not like the woman on the scratch track. And thank God, after like 20 or 30 takes, I finally got it. And I knew that it was that when, during one of the playbacks, I heard the director go, no, I was like, oh wait, what? That was her? Okay, that's the one, keep it. Because she thought it was the scratch track, you know, like I got close enough that that's all that she really wanted. So it's just, yeah, it can get crazy. Sorry, that was a long answer. I'm hoping by now.
You spent the longest time on the most negative question.
I know.
What have you done to this panel? Get out! Just kidding.
Oh, God.
No, you get to pick. You're the official picker. You're Sailor Moon.
Let's do the view in the side.
Me?
What has been your favorite role so far? Like in theater and voiceover and anything?
I'll tell you what role I hate the most. No, I'm just kidding.
And then I'll tell you what I second hated the most. I don't have favorites.
Yeah, I
Do you
don't
have
do favorites
favorites?
either, no. They're all favorite in their own little chunk of time. I like them all a lot for their own,
Yeah,
for their
it's-
own reasons.
Yeah, it's like I like French fries, but I also like ramen, but I also like tiramisu, and then I also like, you know what I mean? Like you can't like pick. It's like they're different.
It's like all my ex-girlfriends. Yeah! Oh, that's my current girlfriend.
That's your favorite. That's your favorite.
I just to get that look. No, they're all. I really. Yeah. Did you get a picture of her shooting you the evil eye? No, I know what it looks like on the ring.
I'll get you back later.
What do you have a favorite?
I don't have a favorite.
I don't think I have a
Plus
favorite.
it changes. You ask me one thing today, and then it'll be something different tomorrow.
We both just totally side-skirted your question.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Think of another one. Is that a Tinkerbell? I can't say.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I am 2-year-old. My wings are on the floor though. It's hard to sit. My question is, do you have any favorite or particularly ridiculous lines that you've done for these roles that stand out to you?
For Tuxedo Mask and Sailor Moon?
Yeah.
I know my favorite line,
Who?
but it's the one that I improv.
Okay.
It was like
Oh, yeah?
one of the no. Okay, it was like I saw you, like I see you in the distance or something, and then I improv something like, I know those pants. That was my favorite line.
Pretty solid. I think mine would be from, it's an early episode, where they go into like Fantasyland where people are getting abducted on the bus.
That is a weird episode.
And you don't see him the whole episode. And this was like a semi-improv line too. It's like Susie and I tweaked it, and it was like, all it was, you ladies need a ride? That was it. And it was like, he came out of nowhere, but he was riding a bus.
How was that not the original line?
It
That's
should've
what I'm
been.
like. That should have been.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
You need, right?
Who hasn't asked a question yet? You in the pink.
Okay, so like as you're dubbing it, is there a version of the character that you prefer, like over the other, like Crystal or original?
Oh.
Like with evil tuxedo mask?
Oh, version of the character?
Yeah.
Oh, I like Prince, what do we call him?
Endymion?
Endymion. We were going on Endymion for a while.
I was going in Daymond,
You
and I had
were.
to pick all those lines up.
I know you would. I know you're going to have to. I like Prince Endymion. I haven't had to say it in a while. Yeah, I like him a lot because he's a bad guy, but not really a bad guy. He's subversively being a good guy. And I got to deepen his voice and be stern, and that was fun. It's a little different. And my least favorite would be the Moonlight Knight, because it's really, really obnoxious. He's like Turbo Tuxedo Mask. Like, he doesn't say anything normal at all. He never has a normal moment. It's just like, the sun and the moon split in between two, which are your eyes, which I love more than roses. It like makes no sense at all.
I think he should come out with a book of poetry.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
It should be the Tuxedo Mask coffee table poetry book. No one would buy it.
I don't know. I mean, I really, really like kind of Usagi from the earlier series and the earlier episodes. Just because I think she's really funny.
Yeah.
You know, before all the boy problems arise. When her life was so blurred.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see all with the band.
So you're kind of getting an answer to your question. We wouldn't really pick in between our actual characters, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Okay, so you said your favorite like lines from the show were improv. So like, how often do they just let you improv lines?
Rarely. Right?
Well, like, I mean, it's not like we're sitting there rewriting the script. You know what I mean? Like, but every once in a while, if you have an idea, like Susie's pretty open. She'll be let me hear it, and then either she'll kind of say, she'll either say, oh, that's cool, I like it, and then we'll use it, or she says, oh, I don't know, that's too weird, or she goes, I like it, but they'll never you know,
Approve
they'll
it.
never approve it. But, you know, I think what usually if she likes it, she'll put it on top, and then when the producers review it, they make the notes. They're the ones who ultimately say, like, why did you change this, or no, or yay, or whatever. But we all love the original show so much that we're not just, we would never just go around willy-nilly just like adding our own jokes and changing the storyline. It's only like for little kind of things, you know, like, doesn't really matter, you know.
What'd you say?
Maybe see one like explode.
Yeah, it's like if you add a little chuckle here and there, or that's not taking away from the scene, or it's like, you know, make it more like a good flow. Like him saying like, hey, you lady need a ride. I mean, Tuxedo Mask shows up and he does address the women, and that's kind of like the whole like meaning of that part is still exactly the same. We didn't change the meaning or the intention at all.
And I think even outside of the realm of anime too, you know, you have to pick and choose your improv lines big time. Because a lot of time the writer or the director's in the room and you want to honor the script, whether it's anime or not. You really want to stick with the source material. So if you got an idea for an improv line that strikes you and it really makes you chuckle, you should really pick and choose your moments. Because like there are some guys that come in and like, that are like legends that just don't give a crud anymore about who they offend or whatever. And I won't name them, but I've worked with a couple of them and they're like my childhood like legends. And they were improvising like 60% of the script. Like, and part of it, and it's funny, a lot of it's funny, a lot of it's good, but a lot of it isn't. And you can just sit there and watch the writers kind of go, like, and then they'll smile and laugh, and then they'll go, hey, can we get a couple as written? You know, so, I mean, if you're gonna improv, you gotta be, A, good at it, and B, I think sort of pick and choose your moments. And I think the ones that ended up in the copies of Sailor Moon that you're watching right now are pretty darn good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, that was why I asked you.
I mean,
The purple pants one thing, like, I really like that.
that was Susie's idea.
That was all Susie.
Because she just kept complaining about his wardrobe the entire time we recorded the first few episodes.
We just comment on it?
Yeah, she would just like, what? Look at this. She would like scroll back. She's like, look at this. What is he wearing? Why would you know? Look, he's wearing this. She would like purposely, because like, if I'm not in the scene, I don't see it, right? So she like she'll be like, what? She'd like go off on it. But yeah, Robbie brings up a really good point though. Like lots of times the writer's in the room and stuff. And if you wrote a script and you were sitting there watching the actor and the actor like changed all your lines, like how would you feel? Do you know what I mean? Like it makes you feel kind of bad. Like, so you don't want to offend the writers. But the other thing too is like you don't know what they have in store for the series or where the series is going. Like in the beginning, when I did the second season of Korra, you know, I really thought Julie should be like more snarky, you know, and more like, oh, this idiot, blah, 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 blah. So I would make, my first couple takes, my instincts would be like more sarcastic and more, and Andrea Romano would be like, no, don't be so mean. Like, no, it doesn't, you know, you just say the line, you know, like, and now in retrospect, I was like, oh, now it makes more sense. Because if I made her so antagonistic toward Varric, like, then their whole relationship in the fourth season and all of how that develops would never work, you know? But I didn't know that because I'm just the actor with just that episode. I don't know what the director and the writer already knows of where the story and the characters are going.
Yeah.
So, your second question.
I know.
Well, we have to give other people a chance, you know?
I know, that's why I wasn't complaining. Anyway, my main question is kind of something that was brought up earlier, but it's more to the point. You're doing the voice acting work for both Crystal and the redub. So my question is what are some of the biggest differences that stand out to you between the redub and the new series, Crystal?
Way more farting in Crystal.
Oh man, so much more.
Yeah, like.
You see more of it than I do.
Do you mean our approach to the performances, or do you mean the original source material, the Japanese version?
Whatever, like I said, whatever stands out to you the most.
I mean, obviously the art style is a little bit more like the manga art, so that's a little different. My personal approach to it is like, Usagi's she's not as crazy. Like, she's pitched lower. She's not as high pitched. I take the moments a little bit more seriously versus more comedically, just because the style is kind of, it looks a little bit more grown up, do you know? So to match the style, that's kind of the main differences. I mean, there's a lot of story differences. It's much more closer to the manga. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I like Crystal because I'm in it more.
We have 4 minutes left, so
4
these will be
minutes.
the last few questions, so make them good ones.
Above you.
Above
and then, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, in the original, you fight with Mars a lot, and you bicker and you argue over Tuxedo Mask, and you like have these quirky little things with all the
Yes.
scouts. And in Crystal, there's not so much of the relationship between the scouts. Do you feel like you miss that, or do you miss that part of Crystal, or like Crystal doesn't have it?
It's weird. I think there's a lot of stuff that I love in the classic version that I really do miss. You know, because I really love a lot of the humor and all that stuff, and I think it's because Crystal is like, they're sticking to the manga more, and so they want to just focus. I feel like it's like more sped up, like get to the juicy, dramatic parts, right? So they have to kind of get rid of some of the other things, and what they got rid of is a lot of that kind of stuff.
So do you miss like talking to the other actresses and not being able to play, because all of the scouts are the same?
We record separately, so I never see them anyway. I just go in and do my own lines, so we don't ever see them. I see them at conventions. I see them if, you know, we decide to hang out or something, or in between at auditions, or so we don't record together. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
It is the truth.
It's the
But do you
truth.
guys record scenes together?
No. No.
You guys are all just individual?
It's true.
loving each other?
We're lone wolves.
I gotta say though, I usually come in and back cleanup. I think they bring me in mostly last because I have the least and can do the most because I have the least. So I get to hear them, I think, more than they get to hear each other. That I think it's awesome because I do get to play off of them a little bit because I'll get to hear the Japanese, but they'll also sometimes have them over on top of it in production. So for our more romantic stuff, I usually do get to play off Stephanie a little bit, which is nice. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just Susie. We've talked about her a couple times now. She's the director, and like with most directors, she has an overall image of what's going on. So she gives us that guidance. Like sometimes I'll walk in and be like, I have no idea what's going on. They're like, okay, that tree's trying to suck the energy from these two brothers and sisters.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the sister
the
loves
tree.
me, and she loves you, but you don't want to hurt her feelings, but you're broken up with Usagi, but you still love her, but you don't want to tell her you love her because you think the earth's going to explode. and then the line is like, Sailor Moon! And I'm like, did I get all that? Did I get it? Yeah.
I totally forgot about the tree. The tree in the bedroom.
Yeah,
The-
that's like filler, right? Those aliens are like filler season, right?
That was my second favorite improv line. I think I said something like, wow, space tree, or something like that. It had, the reason we changed it more is the flapping was like really like, boom, boom, boom. And whatever line was written there was like, I was like, that is not gonna fit. So then I was like, you know what will fit? Wow, space tree.
You know, they say to go out on a high note in the world of comedy, and since you guys all laughed, we're
He's
gonna wrap
calling
this
it 2
up.
o'clock.
I'm calling it!
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Exciting autographs tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you continue to wake up. And we have another panel like this but different tomorrow
We'll be just as funny or funnier.
2 p.m.
And then Stephanie's got a solo panel.
No.
Oh,
It's done.
I do in an hour. You guys don't have to come. Tell your friends. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
I figured out which volume.
You're good.
It's louder, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. That one is. Keep doing that. Keep doing it.